What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of the Tailgate Report. It has been a week and a half or so, almost 2 weeks, I believe, since the last one that I did post. I have been incredibly busy over this last stretch. Weekends have been packed, weekdays have been packed. So it's just been really hectic on my side of things. So I apologize for missing on a week or two, but I'm glad to be back. That being said, today's episode, guys, it's going to be a little bit of a shorter one. Just based on the fact that I was out for that long. I want to recap just a couple of things that we've seen over the last couple of weeks and kind of just prepare for what's to come. We're in a pretty cool spot right now as not only has, really college baseball has taken off, golf has taken off, but also next weekend we have the first race of the F1 season also taking off. So very excited about that. MLB baseball is not too far away either. March Madness basketball is coming up very shortly as well. Both of those are topics that I will dive into a little bit deeper than the regular season. But with all that being said, guys, hopefully everybody's been doing very well. Hopefully the weather is starting to turn around in certain areas for you, and you can take advantage of being outdoors and getting after some of these sports for yourself. Without further ado, guys, we're going to hop right on in to really simply just the last couple of weeks of golf. Now, obviously, we had the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, previously won by Rory McIlroy, and we had Colin Morikawa taking home the win over there in California. I don't know what it is about him. He always seems to play very well in California. I believe he's from California, but just played a really, really good tournament. His irons obviously are kind of his bread and butter, and he definitely showed that during the tournament and was able to walk away with a win. So good for Colin. I believe it's been a couple of years since he's had a win on tour. So really cool to see that on his side of things. Happy he was able to get it done. And then obviously leading on into last week, we had the Genesis Invitational Tournament where I believe Tiger Woods is kind of like the spokes guy for that, which was pretty cool to see him out there. I heard some rumors that he's dabbling in potentially getting into the Masters this year. We will see. He's been dealing with a ton of injuries. And, unfortunately, if we're going to be honest here, he's definitely not the same Tiger Woods that he has been. He's obviously getting to that point. Definitely getting old, showing his age. So be cool to see him nonetheless, but I'm not holding my breath on it. But we did see Jacob Bridgman, young guy, finally getting it done on tour, had his first win at the Genesis. Definitely made it very interesting. Came down to the wire. I believe he had a 6-stroke lead going into the final round, and Kurt Kitayama played an absolute incredible round of golf. I think he shot 7 under on the day. And, Kurt Kitayama is a name I've heard a couple of times this year as someone who's really going to try to burst out this year. And he definitely showed it in the last round of the Genesis. Played a great round, took it to a 1-stroke deficit. And then Rory also came back and put it to a 1-stroke deficit as well. Jacob Bridgman had a bogey, brought it to 1, and had a putt to basically win the golf tournament that he was able to nail on 18 to hold it off and finally earn himself his first trophy. So happy for Jacob Bridgman. Cool tournament for him to win it at as well. Got a picture with Tiger Woods. So really fun tournament. Golf's been really entertaining, man, this season. There's been a lot of new faces, a lot of new guys on the leaderboards. And, it's kind of cool because there has not been any repeat winners other than Chris Gotterup. And he's also a name that's relatively fresh. So what that tells me is there's just a lot of talent that's waiting to kind of burst out of the scene this season. So I'm really enjoying watching it. That being said, I'm watching the Cognizant Classic currently on my other monitor as we speak. Definitely enjoying this tournament as well. More of a low-key tournament, not a ton of big name guys playing in this one. You have your Brooks Koepka, you have your Max Homa, you have some of those guys, but there's just not a ton of the big names playing. So kind of cool to see some guys that are more on the low-key side of golf or more on the upcoming trail of golf. So really looking forward to seeing how this tournament kind of ties itself together at the end. Even just looking at the leaderboards right now they have on my screen, there's a bunch of guys that you're just kind of unfamiliar with seeing at the top of a leaderboard. So kind of cool to see the little bit of difference here in this tournament versus some of these bigger ones that we've seen to start the year. But kind of setting it right up on a tee, pun intended. We're talking a little bit about the Cognizant here real quick. I know I'm recording this today on a Friday, so obviously round one has already concluded. Last year's winner was Joe Highsmith. I believe his first win on tour was last year at this tournament. I have not seen him too much today, so I'm sure that he's probably not doing as well as he did last year, at least as we speak, but nonetheless, he's got an opportunity to retain his title. And then on the right side there, we've got some of the guys currently up there in the top after round one. Austin Smotherman had a great round, shot a 9 under. Really, really good round on his side of things. Nico Echeverria as well with an 8 under. He was actually one of my picks. I picked 3 people to win this tournament. One of them was Echeverria. So cool to see that he's off to a great start. Wrighton at 7 under, Nyholm at 5, Taylor Moore at 4, Jackson Suber at -4, sorry. And then obviously Daniel Berger is a pretty familiar name who's down at -3 under. So as you can see there, though, there's quite a few names that, we're not overly familiar with. We see Echeverria here and there. He's a pretty darn good player. Daniel Berger, pretty familiar name, but the rest of those guys up there kind of, not overly common names to see up there. So it's pretty cool to see some guys we're not as familiar with there. Really enjoying round 2 so far. William Mao is a guy that I have big hopes for in this tournament as well. As I say that, he ironically was just putting for birdie, missed it, but he is 5 under at the time of recording this. So he is creeping his way up the rankings as well. Ironically, they're showing the board right now. William Mao is in 4th. Actually, Michael Brennan is up to 6. Rasmus Hogard is tied at 6 as well. But then the list is relatively similar to the one I have posted for yesterday. So a couple of cool names up there. 2 of my guys are actually in the top 5 right now that I picked. So pretty good spot we're in right now. With all that being said, we're going to jump into kind of the big topic really of today. And that's just going to really just be a little bit about the actual F1 season. So we're going to chat a little bit about that and kind of see what things look like here. Obviously, testing wise, I apologize for the blurriness that we have on my screen. I believe it's going to be, relatively simple to see for folks watching this on YouTube, but for whatever reason, whenever I get these images off of ESPN, the quality just sucks. It always sucks. Even when it looks good when I'm on their site, when I implement it onto this, it's always a horrible quality. So I apologize, but nonetheless, for folks that are watching it, I do want to just give you some sort of visual. Now, obviously, day 1 on the left, going towards day 3 on the right. Now, obviously, the biggest things you'll notice here are going over to day 1, in the top 10, we do have Valtteri Bottas for Cadillac at number 9, which is pretty cool to see. I think they're going to have a slower year simply because they are brand new. They're going to have to work out a lot of the kinks of being a new team. But day 1 testing, they have a lot of experience behind the wheel with Bottas, who had some really great years with Mercedes. And then obviously with Sergio Perez, who had some really great years with Red Bull. So they've got 2 guys that have been on winning teams, that have been around winners in Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. So they know what to look for. They know how to get the job done. Really cool to see him breaking the top 10 day 1. And then Bortoleto as well breaking into at number 8 for Audi. I think Audi could potentially be a pretty good team. I don't know if their drivers are going to stack up that way, but just based on the performance I've seen from their vehicles, it could be something that's, pretty interesting to see. The next one to jump into down here is day 2, where if you look, you'll see at number 8, we had Valtteri Bottas once again. Sergio Perez, a little bit lower down there at number 15. But nonetheless, Valtteri Bottas in back-to-back days breaking into the top 10. Pretty cool to see that, in my opinion. And then if you'll take a peek ahead of him, we've got Gabriel Bortoleto once again in the Audi. So both the Audi and in the Cadillac, we've seen 2 different days in a row now where they've broke into the top 10. So that's pretty neat. I'm definitely liking that. It's going to be pretty cool. And, as far as that goes, sorry, I was replying to a message for one of my friends there. But as far as that goes, looking across the boards here, we saw Max Verstappen and Piastri up top day one, and then a kind of a scene change as Charles Leclerc and Lando take 1 and 2 in day two. Ollie Behrman up there at number 3, which is pretty neat. George Russell's up there in the top as always. Everybody is thinking he's going to have himself a great year. They think that Mercedes is going to kind of be one of the teams up there this year, which, would be kind of cool to see George Russell. I do enjoy him, so it'll be fun to watch this year with him. And then going over to day 3 in the other Mercedes, we have Kimi Antonelli leading the way, followed by, once again, no other than George Russell. As we can see here, Mercedes across the board, they are looking really good. There's no doubt about it. Now, day 3, as we work our way down that list, you will know that Nico Hülkenberg finished right at number 10 in the Audi, and then Perez down at 14 in the other Cadillac, and then Bottas actually finished at dead last in the cars that were actually out on the track. So day 3, kind of a tough one for Cadillac. Bortoleto falls quite a bit down to 15 as well. Really only between Lance Stroll as the only other guy not in the Audi or the Cadillac down there at the bottom, and Lance Stroll sucks, let's be honest. So as far as that goes, day 3, kind of a fall off after a pretty strong 1 and 2. But that being said, guys, we're jumping right into the season. At the next recording of this, ideally, I will get it out probably on Tuesday or Wednesday next week. We will be hopping right into race weekend down in Australia. Really fun weekend down there. I'm super excited to see the first race of the year, see how cars actually stack up when it really comes down to it and when it really matters. And that being said, guys, it's right around the corner. So it's been a long wait, obviously, and we've kind of gone through the process of the reveal of both of these new teams, the livery reveal at the Super Bowl, and now it's really coming down to crunch time, and we are actually going to see the race actually start. So super excited for it. Going to be a lot of fun. Jumping into really the last section I wanted to hit on real quick here before we wrap up this shorter week. As I mentioned, it's been just very busy for me. I'm on a little bit more of a time crunch than normal. So wanted to still get something out for you guys because obviously I enjoy doing this, and definitely appreciate folks that enjoy watching and listening on the 2 different platforms. But that being said, Daniel Berger just had an incredible eagle putt that he was just shy of. He's going to put that in for birdie for sure to get the 4 under. Nonetheless, as I commentate over the golf here, we're taking a peek into college baseball. Now, we've had about 2 weeks into the season here. On the left-hand side of the screen, we've got the top 10 rankings. UCLA still holding down the number 1 spot. Rock Chalosky, their shortstop, has been on an absolute tear to start the year. LSU staying right behind them. Texas at 3, Mississippi State at 4, Georgia Tech at 5, Arkansas at 6, Auburn at 7, North Carolina at 8 with a tie, which is pretty interesting to see. Number 9, Coastal Carolina, who does have 2 losses, and then number 10 is Florida. So not a ton of changes in the top 25 currently. The only noticeable one that I was going to mention was Ole Miss actually moved into number 25 and was previously unranked. So they're working their way up the rankings. But really the last thing I wanted to touch on here was as we work our way to the right side of the screen, this weekend, starting obviously today being Friday, some of the primetime matchups that I want to be watching myself, areas that I think are going to be a really good spot for folks to tune into college baseball. It sucks that it's not as publicized on TV and on ESPN as, some of these other things, because it's a real fun time to watch. There's some really good competitive baseball on there, and the passion in the sport in the college level is pretty darn awesome to watch. And, with that being said, hopping on over, we have Arizona State versus Mississippi State at 11 a.m. today. Mississippi State, number 4 in the country, playing really good baseball. Arizona State having one of the best starts they've had in, I believe, almost 6 or 7 years. So should be a really fun matchup. Arizona State always has a lot of talent, really cool environment. So it'll be a lot of fun to watch that one there. Then coming in right afterwards at 2 o'clock, we have number 19, Oregon State, taking on Houston. Houston opening weekend had a really good start. They actually took down Wake Forest in one of the games. So Houston is playing some really good baseball, taking on today probably Dax Whitney at number 19 or Oregon State. Following them up at 3 p.m., we got number 20 Tennessee versus the big dogs UCLA, who is number 1. This one, in my opinion, is going to be the game of the day that I'll want to enjoy watching. Tennessee, not as good as they've been the last couple of years, but still a good team. And of course, just watching them take on number 1 in the country, gonna be a ton of fun. Number 10, Florida takes on number 17, Miami at 6 o'clock. Battle of Florida. Once again, a lot of chirpiness in this game, I'm sure. A lot of atmosphere involved with these two teams both being local. Definitely should be a lot of fun. Absolutely will be tuning into this one as well later in the day. And then right afterwards, we got number 3, Texas at number 9, Coastal Carolina at 7. This will also be a very competitive series. Texas is Friday guy. He's got the mustache. He's got the long hair. The dude throws gas. Really fun guy to watch. And then, of course, Coastal Carolina had a lot of publicity coming into the year. They've had a couple losses already. So taking on the number 3 team in the country, it's definitely going to be really fun to see exactly what happens today and see where things kind of go. So as far as that goes, I'm really excited to see what happens. And, nonetheless, guys, I appreciate everybody who is tuning in once again. I apologize for the few weeks of taking off. Once again, it's really wasn't more so of me wanting to take off. It was just I was on some time crunches, so it's kind of tough to sit down, put together one of these, and then also spit it out for you. So nonetheless, guys, I appreciate anybody that's tuned in. I hope you guys have enjoyed. We'll get back to regularly scheduled stuff next week, hopefully, and look forward to jumping into the F1 season. And then about 2 weeks following that, we will hop right on into March Madness as well as the MLB season. So, guys, once again, appreciate everybody's time today. I hope you guys have an amazing Friday and a great weekend. And we will catch you guys next week. Take care, everybody.